Right, this here is a marking gauge, okay, and the marking gauge we use for drawing long parallel lines to the edge of a bit of material. Okay, there's various parts of the marking gauge, and the parts are, we have a spur, we've got a stem, we've got a stock that slides along the stem, and we've got a thumb screw that locks the stock in place. The first way of setting a marking gauge is we can use a steel rule, and we can press the steel rule against the stock, or the zero of the steel rule against the stock, and then we can set it to the number of millimetres we would like. So if I wanted to set this to 9 millimetres, for instance, okay, what I can do is I can loosen off the thumb screw, slide the stem through the stock until the spur is exactly on the 9 millimetres, hold it in place and tighten up the thumb screw. Okay, then I can check it, and you can see at the moment, I don't know if this camera picks it up, it's not quite exact. It needs to move about a millimetre out that way. So I can hold it and I can tap it on the end of the stem, and you can see that moves the spur out until we're exactly on the 9 millimetres. The second way of setting a marking gauge is we can do a little bit of something called guesstimating, I suppose. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the marking gauge and I'm going to press the stock against the material, and I'm going to look at the spur and I'm going to kind of guess where the centre is. So I'm going to say that kind of looks roughly in the centre to me, and I'm going to lock it in place, and then I'm going to take the stock and I'm going to press the spur in from one side of the bit of material, and it makes a little mark, and then I'm going to turn it round and I'm going to make a mark in from the other bit of the material, and you can see that these almost line up. They just needs to, the spur needs to just move in a tiny little bit. So I'm just going to tap the end of that a tiny little bit, and then I'm going to try it again once more. I'm going to press from one side and I'm going to press from the other, and because they both line up I know that's exactly in the centre. Okay, when you're using a marking gauge it's important that you hold it properly, and it's not obvious how you should hold it. It looks like it's designed that you grab onto the handle there and use the marking gauge backwards and forwards, and that's how most people make mistakes. What you want to do is you want to hold it in between your two fingers like that and grab the stock with your thumb, so it gives you much more control. Using a marking gauge, it's important that you apply lots of pressure to push the stock against the side of the material, and just a little bit of pressure when you're pressing down on the spur. And if you look at the angle I've got that at, rather than keeping it up like this and trying to draw that way and the spur gets stuck in the wood, if you keep it at a nice angle and you drag it along the material, what you're trying to do is you do it a number of times and you build up a little groove in the wood that we can then take a pencil and we can pop it in the groove and make it a little bit darker. So you can see I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to darken up that line